Hello kids, welcome to the session at Learn Forward platform by Feathercap. I'm your English facilitator Garima Singh to make your learning easy and fun. So let's begin. Hope you all are ready with your books Fly High Grade 3. Now today we'll be discussing chapter 5. That's an interesting story of Tenali Raman Outwits the Thieves. So this is a story in which we'll be reading about Tenali Raman. You must have read a lot of stories about him, right? So this is a story about Tenali Raman, who was a courtier in King Krishna Devarya's court. Let us read the story to know how he treated the thieves who came to his house one night. So in this story, we are going to read that one night the thieves, they came to Tenali Raman's house and how he treats them, right? So courtier is, when you're a member of some kings and you visit his court, right? So in Hindi, you call it Darbari. So now before that we have a small activity. We need to find out the meanings. We need to match the meanings. So what is expensive? It is costly. Rich means wealthy. Stealing, right, robbing. Aching, paining. I'm having a headache. Yeah, I'm having a headache, right? Beautiful, lovely, and breezy means windy. So next we have the story. Let's start reading it. King Krishna Devarya was a great king. In his court he had many courtiers. So who are courtiers? A person who attends a king's court. He liked them all, but his favorite was Tenali Raman. Tenali Raman was not only a courtier, he was also a very rich man, right? The king used to give him very expensive gifts, expensive which means costly. Many thieves wanted to steal these beautiful and expensive things from Tenali Raman's house. So, the people, they were aware that the king used to give him very expensive gifts. So, there were many who wanted to rob, who wanted to steal those gifts and take it with them. One night, Tenali Raman and his wife were sitting in the garden. Suddenly, Tenali Raman's sharp eyes saw the leaves of a bush shaking. Now one day what happened, he was sitting with his wife in their garden, and suddenly he could see that the leaves of the bush, they were shaking, means that there was something behind that. He whispered, when you talk very softly and slowly, to his wife, there is no breeze. See, the leaves of the bushes, they only move and shake when there's wind, when there's breeze, right? So he said to his wife very softly that there is no breeze, there is no wind, then how come these leaves are shaking? Why are the leaves of the bush shaking in that way? Yes, you are right, said his wife. Really, these are shaking quite a bit. I'm quite sure, said Tenali, some thieves must be hiding behind the bush, waiting for us to go to bed. So he could make out that there is somebody, who's there and waiting for them to go to bed so that he could enter the house and take away all the expensive gifts. Tenali Raman started talking loudly to his wife. Today I learned that thieves have been stealing from the houses of our neighbors. So he said, I got to know, learned means when you got to know something, when you get to know something. So he says that today I got to know that there were some thieves in the neighborhood. Yes, said his wife, all my friends are talking about it. I'm sure that the news about these robberies is correct. Come, let us go inside, pack up our jewels. We shall throw them in the well. They will be safe there. If the thieves come here, they will never find the jewels, said Tenali Raman. So he thought of a plan. He discussed with his wife that whatever jewels, whatever treasure we have, we will pack it and we will throw it in the well. That would be the safest place. The thieves behind the bush, they were hearing everything, right? So they smiled wickedly, very cleverly. Ki, Acha, I have heard everything, right? They looked at each other and nodded their heads. Ki, okay, this is your plan. After a while, Tenali Raman and his wife came out of the house. They were carrying what they looked like a very heavy box. Now they both came out and they were having a box which appeared to be very heavy. And how was it appearing? Maybe it was taking a lot of, efforts for both of them to lift it, right? They threw the box into the well. Then they went back into their house, got into their beds and went off to sleep. That night the thieves entered Tenali Raman's garden. They crept in on tiptoe. You know, when you come silently, like Hindi you call na dabe pair. So they came quietly, right? So crept is move slowly and carefully in order to being heard, to avoid being heard or noticed. So very softly, very slowly they entered inside. They had a bucket with them. They lowered the bucket into the well and began to draw out water. You must have seen that, you know, when people in the olden days, they used to draw water from the well, they used to throw a bucket which was, you know, tied with the rope, and then they used to pull it, drag it. They drew out bucket after bucket, nothing but water came out of the well. So see, the poor fellows, they are pulling water, they are drawing water, and then, you know, they are putting this water into the garden. They are, you know, indirectly they are watering the plants, and poor people, they could get nothing, only water. They poured the water into the lawn and in the flower beds. You know, kyari, in Hindi you call it kyari. At last, when they were really tired, they got the huge box out of the well. By this time, the first rays of the sun were shining in the garden, so it was almost morning. At last, they thought, now we shall take away all this in this box and go home. They opened the box. What do you think they found? The box was full of rocks, right? So that is why, you know, in the above paragraph, they've mentioned that the box seemed to be heavy. It appeared to be heavy because it had rocks in it. They were so tired that they collapsed on the wet lawn. Collapse is when you fell down on the ground, right? Then Tenali, Raman and his wife came out. They looked at the thieves and they smiled because their plan was successful. They said, "Thank you so much." The thief said, "For what?" "What have we done?" said the other. "You have helped us," said Tenali, Raman's wife. So how did the thieves they help him? By watering the plants. "You have watered our garden," said Tenali, Raman. Very good. So the thieves started, they stared at Tenali and his wife. Stare is, you know, when you open your big eyes and you give an angry look, ghurna. They got up tiredly. They held on to their aching backs, you know, the bags, they were paining badly because they had to draw water from the well. And once the bucket was full of water, it was heavy to pull. So their back, they were aching. So they were coming up with this position. See, you can see in the picture. And they limped slowly out of the garden. So that is the story. And you see Tenali Ram, he was so clever, so intelligent that he made a plan and he was successful in befalling the thieves. So you should all be intelligent enough. You should all apply your brains rather than panicking whenever you are in some great difficulties. Okay, so now coming to the next, we have the exercise. We have an extract. Based on it, we need to answer the questions. Where were Tenali Ram and his wife sitting one night? So where were they sitting? In the garden. Very good. Why did the shaking leaves surprise Tenali Ram? Because, you know, there was no breeze, there was no wind that night. It was a breezy night. No, there was no breeze that night. Yes. Next, tick the correct option. Why did Tenali Raman started talking to his wife loudly? Because he could make out that there was somebody behind the bush, right? So he normally spoke loudly. No, he wanted the thieves to hear him. He wanted his wife to hear him. No, he wanted the thieves to hear him. Correct. Who entered the Tenali Ram's garden that night? So who were they? They were the thieves. Very good. King Krishna Devarya was a dash king, was a rich king. I think they've used this adjective. He was a rich king. He was a great king. Okay. The king used to give Tenali Raman very, very good, expensive gifts. Next, Tenali Raman's sharp eyes saw the leaves of a bush shaking. Good. Next, the thieves had a dash with them. What did they have with them? They had a bucket with them because they knew, they overheard that, you know, they will throw everything in the well and it will be easier for them to draw the treasure and the treasure which was there in the well. The thieves poured the water onto the one was flower bed, and the other was, yes, lawn and flower bed. and in the flower bed. Next, we have the true or false. The first one, King Krishna Devarya's favorite courtier was Tenali Raman. Yes, of course, true. Next, we have one night Tenali Raman and his wife were sitting in the temple. Is it a correct sentence? No, false. They were sitting in the garden. Absolutely correct. The thieves got finally the huge box out of the well. Were they able to find the box? Yes, at the end when they were deadly tired, they were able to find the box. The last one, the box was full of jewels. Was the box full of jewels? No, it had rocks in it. So it is false. Next, we have the question answers based on the story. Number one, what did King Krishna Devarya give his favorite courtier? So this king, his favorite was Tenali Raman. So he used to give him all expensive gifts. Who wanted to steal expensive things from Tenali Raman's house? The people who knew, that he was often being gifted by the king with, all precious things. So the thieves, they all thought that they should steal it. What did the thieves do that night in Tenali Raman's house? So what did they do? When one day Tenali Raman and his wife, they were sitting in the garden and talking. They could feel that there is somebody behind the bush. So what did the thieves do that night? Okay, so Tenali Raman, he plotted a plan, and then the thieves, what they did, that they went quietly, softly into their house, and they carried a bucket with them. So they started drawing water from the well one by one, and it was, when they were deadly tired, almost about to give up, they found a iron box in the well, and said they took it out. What did Tenali Raman say to the thieves the next morning? Now, Tenali Raman, he was very intelligent. So he thanked the thieves because he said that because the thieves, they had watered his garden and his flower beds. So that was all about the story. It is an interesting story. So you will all read it once again, go through the exercise. See you tomorrow. Children, take care. Happy learning.